Hello, Betty Croswick here. On this post, I want to talk about a subject that, it's not good news, and we've had enough bad news with another shutdown and all of this uh, vicious corona, COVID variants that it's enough to make people want to scream. But we have to get through it. But I'm just feeling guilty about the post that I want to bring your attention to because it's not good news, but it's really, really important, I think. Um, and it begins for me with 20 years ago, a book was written by a scientific researcher named Leo Colburn, and she worked with these associates, and they began finding out things about changes in wildlife that um, portend not good things for humans in the future. So, okay, you have my permission just to shut this off now. But on the other hand, no, I want you to listen because it was hard for me to digest, and I haven't really done all that yet. Maybe if we put our heads together, we can think of some way out of this. But what Dr. Theo Colburn had to say in this book, Our Stolen Future, was that these crazy things that are happening now, or this was 20 years ago, 25 years ago when this book was written, and that were happening back then to wild animals that were giving some wildlife researchers pause for reflection, and that we may, on down the line, also be afflicted with some of this changes that Mother Nature is allowing to happen or that she is making happen. What is she? Is she really mad at us that she won't revenge? Or maybe these are just warnings? Nevertheless, whatever they are, we have to pay attention because they affect the entire human race. But what Dr. Colburn found was that these animals were acting in peculiar ways. The um, uh, eagles, bald eagles in Florida, they were not doing what they were supposed to do. The males were not helping the female eagles build nests, or they didn't even want to be in the nest. They were just goofing off, doing not much of anything, while the females were coming together and they were pairing up to build nests and to lay their eggs. So it didn't work out too well. There was very much um, disturbing outcome, but this was happening also in other parts of the world. In England, they were worried about the river otters who were misbehaving and acting according to reproduction rights. and but it was the study of the alligators in the Florida swamps. Is from the University of Florida researchers who studied the alligators there who were not reproducing, although their waterways had been cleaned up from a previous spill, but chemical spill, and that had a devastating effect on them. A lot of them died, but the ones that survived, and they were not having very good reproductive uh, outcomes. And in studying the male alligators, they trapped them and caught them and studied them. They found that the male alligators had abnormally uh, short penises and were not, on the whole, very well endowed, shall we say. So they didn't understand why the alligators were still doing this, and the ones that were being born were still exhibiting these um, unconventional uh, genitals. So um, the conclusion they came to was very scary, is that even though the the waterways had been cleaned up down to the second generation, the chemicals had remained in the female alligator's body and was passing it along to many of the male offspring. They were having so much so that the alligator population was threatened with crashing. Um, so that was my first introduction to what was happening to some of the wildlife, and but and then periodically you would get some kind of reporters musings on, is it really true that the human male's sperm count is dropping to 50%? And what does this mean? Is it just in some males, or what? But it never broke through that kind of reporting where it would really make headlines across the world, and bring people's attention to what has to be done. It's not piecemeal sort of thing. Something drastic would have to be done. And recently, another researcher of biological reproduction, as Dr. Shana Swan, who wrote a book called uh, Countdown, and she is saying that, well, that it doesn't look good, that from the years of what was this, from 1973 to 2011, the sperm count has dropped down to 59% viable sperm in the average uh, Western sperm count. And she includes in this North America, New Zealand, Australia, uh, European people, all practically of Western um, civilization, are having problems with their sperm count, because to go from down from 50% to 59%, and then Dr. Swain leaves us with this little tiny bit of information. Bless her heart. She says at the current rate, half of the men in those countries, remember we're talking about all Western countries, who would have no sperm count by 2045 if things keep going as they are. And in all the most of the Western countries anyway, by 2045, would have no sperm count, and the rest would have very low sperm counts, or most of the rest. So she's telling us that just, 20, 25 years, half of the men in the Western world will be sterile, and the other half, well, they'll be struggling with flailing sperm that may or may not prove to be viable to any a woman who might want to have children by them. So I think this is horrendous news. Why isn't the press more concerned about it? Why aren't articles being written every day about it? Why aren't men, ordinary men, working class men, screaming in the streets that their manhood is being stolen away by corporate um, manners in the way that they make their products that show they don't give a friggin' damn about anybody except their profits, and that um, maybe the human race demise, if it occurs, as these scientists are warning us, then if it occurs, we will have been wiped out not by COVID variants, not by climate catastrophes that occur all at once, not by, um, you know, banking systems shenanigans to uh, get us all herded into one digital currency, not by any of these mechanisms, except by the chemicals that have been produced by the human race. Men, learn about this. Use your Google. Get out there and raise some hell about your manhood uh, being sabotaged by the greed of the CEOs of corporations and by governments who they're Congress people, uh, they're both houses of uh, Congress in the States, where the Canadian wishy-washy around with things with China or uh, with new ways of uh, of presenting oneself, shall I say? But by the arrogance and the don't give a damnness of the governments and of corporations. And, we have to think about this. We really do, because this is right around the corner, and that it means that baby boys being born today may or may not have enough sperm count to start a family when they're ready to do this around age 25 or 30. Um, so it's pretty serious, people. It's really serious. It's the most serious thing I think we got going here, and that will have to be solved or get it beyond the COVID. May not be the the uh, the wonderful paradise we long for. We have to do something about this. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.